Welcome back to Opening Bell. I want to get you ready for the trading day. Jeff Muhlenkamp's with us, portfolio manager at Muhlenkamp Fund. Thank you so much for being with us. So you say that the economy will be benign in 2026. We heard Brian Moynihan this week talking about a good, strong economy because of the consumer spending that he expects from Bank of America. What are your thoughts here? What are you sort of surmising when it comes to the economy?
Good morning, Nicole. Thanks for having me back on. My observation over the last year is that we have had a split economy. Services have done well. Manufacturing has not. Manufacturing suffered. We had a big kind of manufacturing boom during COVID. Then we had a bust post-COVID when everybody went out on vacation again and stopped buying more computers. And we have been recovering from that for the last 2 years. I think that recovery really begins to get traction in 26, and that gives us a pretty decent economy. So I would agree. I think our economy will be fine in 26. I think manufacturing will come back.
You know, I was looking at yesterday. I really enjoyed the regionals. And, of course, the Empire State, because I'm here in New York. For the Empire manufacturing and new orders, it was good news overall. It came in, the Empire number came in at 7.7, and the estimate was 1. And for the Philly Fed manufacturing, that came in at 12.6, and the estimate was minus 1.4. So that goes to your point. Do you think that we can continue this? What are some of the other catalysts that will keep us going?
I don't even think it's really catalyst driven, but then anytime you get a contraction, capacity comes out of the market, whether it's trucking, and we've been in a trucking recession now for about 3 years, whether it's chemicals, and I know I've recommended chemicals before and I still like them, right? Capacity comes out of the market. And so all demand has to do is kind of not go down any further. And then you'll start to right size supply, you'll start to get profitability in, and you'll kind of start growing again. And I think that's where we're at in many of these sectors that have been in a recessionary environment really for about 2 years.
Yeah, and I want to talk about your strategy. Do you have some concerns, though, over sovereign debt? Tell me a little bit about that. Explain that.
Well, I do. I think, the sovereign debt in Japan, the sovereign debt in the United States, the sovereign debt in Europe is at very high levels. And historically, when countries get over indebted, the way they get out of that is they devalue their currency. And so they pay you back with a coin or a bill that is worth less than what they borrowed from you. So that's really the reason we got interested in gold a couple of years ago, is we thought that might be pretty likely going forward, would be kind of a longer term trend, and the way to hedge against that would be to have exposure to gold, and that's what we did.
Yeah, and so gold, which hit 46.50 a troy ounce most recently, has been at records. Where do you think gold could be headed in the year or two ahead?
That's always a tough one, and I wrestle with that daily. Gold had a great year last year. It was up about 70%. I've seen estimates as high as $6,000 an ounce. I don't know that I'm willing to put a number on it. I'm happy to kind of watch the indicators to see if gold is strong or gold is weak. So a little bit you watch the price action. There are a couple of fundamental drivers. I think, central banks buying gold is a useful thing to watch. So I'll be watching whether they buy more or less. I'll be watching to see if more central banks join kind of the ones that have been buying gold. I'll be watching to see if there's another use case. So right now it would seem to me that gold is replacing treasuries as a store of value for central banks. But
Understood.
Gold is not replacing the dollar as a means of exchange. But if that starts to happen, that's another really big reason, another use case, if you will, for gold. So that would drive prices higher. So I'm kind of very carefully monitoring a couple of those things to see which way things are moving, and I'll go from there. But I really don't have a price target. I think that's kind of a fool's game.
Selling your gold position. So the point is, you're not selling your gold position. You'll be watching it. You're not comfortable saying it's going to 6,000, but you're not selling your gold position. You're holding that. Is that right?
If I sold it today, it would be simply a rebalancing move, right? So I've got about 23% exposure to gold in the portfolio. I would sell it in the near term, not because I don't like gold, although I may change my mind tomorrow if events warrant it. But it will have simply gotten too large, and I'll rebalance into something else.
I do want to get to your stock picks, but it makes me wonder about silver. Do you feel silver is the little brother of gold? Do you have an interest in silver too, or not so much?
I laugh because my father and I, who was my predecessor as the portfolio manager here, we've had quite the interesting debate about silver over the last week or so. We are not playing silver. We are not investing in silver right now. It clearly has been on a tear, and I couldn't tell you why. Right, so that's kind of my hesitancy about trying to play it. Is I don't have tools to tell me why it's going up or when it might reverse. So that's a game I'm not interested in playing.
Right. I mean, it could be a little more industrial, also a safe haven, as you know. Did your father want to buy it? Just out of curiosity, did he seem interested in it? Is that the conversation?
He was on the pro side of the argument, and I was on the con side.
Oh, that's so much fun. I wish I were there for that conversation. Okay, let's get to that sounds fun. So you do have, in the tech world, you have Microchip Technologies, right? Tell me about your feeling about tech and Microchip Tech in particular.
Yeah, so Microchip, they produce chips that are in washing machines, they're in industrial machines, they're not in AI. So they're not being driven by what's going on in the AI space. They're driven by more what's going on in the manufacturing economy. They had quite the boom during COVID, and we're expanding capacity. And when that boom reversed into a bust, the stock price went along with it. And so our observation, listening to the company and watching what was going on in the space, is that cycle bottomed the end of last year. So we're happy we added to our position at the end of last year. We think they're going to be in an upcycle now, and we'll profit along with the company. We're pretty happy with that position. We think it'll do well.
Understood. In the materials world, you have Celanese and also LyondellBasell. Tell me about those two names.
Again, a cyclical story, right? Chemicals are a cyclical industry. Coming out of COVID, there was a lot of demand, then it fell off. So you end up with a cyclical bust. The stocks price that in, and that's the time historically when you want to buy them. And so we're really, for those companies, we just think we're in a cyclical trough. They're priced appropriately. Now's the time to get in, and you'll do fine over the next 2 or 3 years as the business improves, right? Demand picks up a little bit, pricing firms up a lot, and their margins look better.
So also, what about, and I'm sure your father's not interested in this, I definitely think that we're seeing more younger folks interested in crypto. They're actually, the Senate Banking Committee postponed its planned markup of crypto market structure legislation. They've been trying, obviously, to make crypto easier and more, sort of adaptable in the world. Is that something you've been interested in or watching? I mean, crypto, for example, had a great week this week, but Bitcoin didn't have a particularly great year last year when everything else did, pretty much.
My view on Bitcoin is that it is the speculative end of the market. If you look at, and I base that opinion simply on the price action, right? So when the NASDAQ goes up, Bitcoin goes up a little more. When the NASDAQ goes down, Bitcoin goes down a little more. That's been my observation. What I've been trying to understand is what is the use case for Bitcoin? And now you have a bunch of other cryptos that are actually, in my opinion, more interesting, right? So now you've got coins that are tethered, although I'm not specifically speaking about Tether the coin, but tethered to other assets, whether that's short-term treasuries or materials like gold, right? So I think asset-backed coins are very interesting. I'm not terribly interested in owning treasuries through a coin because the creator of that coin is stripping out the coupon. And I would rather, if I'm going to own short-term treasuries, which I do, I would rather collect that coupon myself as opposed to having the convenience of trading it on a exchange simply, right? So I'm not terribly interested in those kind of coins, but I think gold-backed cryptocurrencies are extremely interesting. So this is the first time since the 70s that you've got truly a gold-backed currency. And I'm very interested to see what kind of traction that gets in the markets, if it gets any at all.
All
So I'm
right.
not predicting it will, but I think it's a fascinating development. And if you see people starting to really latch onto that, that can have some interesting implications.
Great conversation. Jeff Muhlenkamp, Muhlenkamp Fund, thank you so much. It's wonderful to see you, and say hi to your dad too. Thank you. Enjoyed that.